the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 173, recorded Friday, December 12th, 2014. The Towel of Billy Joel.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing. Scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. AVWeek. This is AV, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. Because things happen every week in the audio-visual industry, and, you know, we like to talk about it and tell you what it means and why it should matter to you in integration world and manufacturer world and technology manager world. So with us this week is Mr. Christopher Netto from AV Help Desk, as well as, Red Band and, AVNation and all that stuff. So how are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Little technical difficulties as usual, but in one piece, hopefully.
I'm going to have to get you a new computer or something for Christmas. I don't know.
Yes, we go.
Also with us is Josh Strago from soundreason.org and brand spanking new member of the CTS board at Infocom. How are you, sir?
Oh, it's all right. It's exciting. It's, all sorts of new challenges coming up. Looking forward to 2015. It's weird to think that I'm already planning into spring of 2015 at this point, but doing well out here, excited, and I got to be a part of my first CTS steering committee meeting yesterday and meet all of my compatriots online, and it's a great group, and we're gonna have a lot of fun over the next couple of years.
Very cool, very cool. How long is that? Is that I guess service length?
It's a 2-year term that I was elected to.
All right, very good. Very good. Last but not least, the left-hand side of my brain, and today he's also the right-hand side of my brain, so be careful. His name is George Tucker. He's the engineering coordinator for World Stage and all sorts of things at AVNation. How are you, sir?
No, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys again. And you too, Netto. Been a long time.
If you get a chance, last night, the joke there is Mr. Tucker and Mr. Netto hosted a show from the Sapphire Marketing Party at the Crestron Experience Center in Manhattan, and lots of great people came by and talked with you guys. So yeah, that's on our YouTube channel. It's also on our webpage if you get a chance to check that out. You guys did a very good job. So I was watching third graders sing Christmas carols. So hey, we all got to have a good time last night. So no, it was good. Before we start with the stories, first a really big thank you from me personally and everybody at AVNation. Our audience came through in a really, really big way this week. We had, about a month ago, kicked off a Kickstarter program to try to raise some funds to go to ISE, Integrated Systems Europe. And you guys did it. You raised $10,000, so thank you very much. Mr. Netto, Mr. Tucker, and myself will be jumping on a plane somewhere in the United States and about February 8th or so, and flying over to Amsterdam to bring you some really great coverage from the perspective of integrators and designers and consultants and programmers. So thank you very, very much from everybody here at AVNation. So we'll be bringing you guys some more stuff and talking a little bit more about it, but I didn't want to start the show without at least saying thank you very much, and we really, really, really appreciate it. So
I'll try not to burn down the shop in your absence.
I appreciate that. Hey, you know what? If we scrape together a couple more quarters, Strago can go. So
woohoo!
Actually, what was it at one time? Josh said, "You know what? I'll be somebody's editor for a week. So I'll do anything,
Yeah, sell me out. Hey, if people want blogs, I'm happy to generate content.
$3,000.
You too can own a Josh Schraub.
You too can for 3 low payments of $999.99.
I'll give the discount of that 1 cent just this one time.
Well, I appreciate that.
Only one
And
struggle.
we'll throw in a matching hat.
Yes. Yes, you get Strago's hat for. That's what we should have raffled off, is Strago's hat for $3,000.
Which one? There are 14 of them.
I don't care.
One that
all
we could give
14.
away that would be signed.
That's 14 more people we can bring. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Yes, you too can get an actual podcast worn hat.
All right, let's get on with the news, guys. So this week, one of at least my personal favorite technologies introduced something cool. AVNew Alliance has introduced an industrial focus. Bum, bum, bum. They are calling it their fourth pillar. It's kind of the pillar thing is kind of threw me for a loop, right? It sounds somewhat pseudo-religious or somewhat pseudo-political, right? Because different pillars of a political platform. But George, they're talking about industrial control, and that caught my interest, right? I mean, you've got the audio part of AVB, you've got the video part now of AVB. They also announced that they have a certification program for the video part. So they have a certification for the audio part, University of New Hampshire still, a certification for the video part because they're doing different things to certify that. Now they're talking about industrial control. One of the things that caught my ear and it caught my eye when I'm reading this and talking to these folks is the guaranteed packet delivery. Mm-hmm. Let me say that part again. Guaranteed packet delivery. Why does that matter? Well, talk about video and whether or not you want things dropping. Talk about, and Shrago, yes, we'll get to net neutrality and why that matters. How that affects. But George, how big of a deal is this that they're going after this segment of this market, this industrial market with this control?
Well, I think it's a really big deal because they feel confident enough that AVB as a protocol can handle that time-sensitive network stuff. I mean, what is AVB's big claim to fame here, besides delivering audio, is that they can do it in a way where there's no lag. So when you have a multi-zone, home or multi-zone audio, you're supposedly not going to hear any lag between the different rooms because of how AVB works. Well, that's perfect for industrial automation systems and industrial automation uses, or even reporting where real-time information comes in without any delay. Step it back a bit, Ethernet is a laggy, delayed protocol, or at least topology, right? Yeah. It's all built about error checking and making sure the data gets there, but not in the time urgent way. So this really does give them a step into saying, hey, we can do that. We can run a factory, I guess, or we can run some form of automated robot assembly. It's really nifty. It's sort of following the pattern of MIDI. I know I don't talk about MIDI much, but MIDI did the same thing. You have your standard MIDI, your MIDI show control, and your MIDI MMC, MIDI machine control.
Okay, so you bring up MIDI, which it's a great protocol. Does this provide kind of the first baby steps of maybe a standardized control protocol for, AV, for the Extron, Crestron, AMXs, or are they going to resist this to no end?
I don't know. I have to be honest. There's a lot of potential there, but I think if they're smart, what they will do is allow, like MIDI does, that sort of MIDI has something called a sysx message. It's an extra do, but then would talk on the greater general MIDI network nicely. So a Roland can talk to a Yamaha, etc.
Yeah.
But those specific commands couldn't really be done. If they're smart, they'll let it piggyback and say, here's the general protocol, here's the delivery sequence we're going to use, just fit it within that. And if I'm a Sony, let's not use Sony because they're having too much trouble anyway, but if I'm X manufacturer and I want to be able to keep that private, say, a Crestron, an AMX, an RTI, then I would go, yes, I'm going to adapt that because I can do both. So
that makes sense. Chris, what does this mean for corporate, where you've got, the AVNew is going after this manufacturing segment, but how does that translate, those controls and that guaranteed packet delivery? How does that translate into the corporate world?
On the manufacturing side?
No, on the corporate, the corporate installations, the control inside corporate buildings.
Well, typically on the corporate building, or the corporate rollouts, we're already standardizing on one manufacturer, just to make life easier to begin with. If now this is introduced and we're able to go ahead and put in various types of control systems, all speaking the same language, delivering the same packet, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I actually when I first heard this, I shot Mr. Shrago a message about it, and I started talking about net neutrality. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It's all one closed network. However, when you've got manufacturers that are over several kilometers, or several miles, my buddy Michael Drainer, who currently works for Sennheiser, but in a previous life. He was a network operations manager. He worked the NOC for Anheuser-Busch here in St. Louis, and they had one central NOC that ran all of their ancillary breweries around the country. So there's a little bit of concern, isn't there, Josh, about net neutrality with this?
Of course there is. It's a signal going on a network, and at this point in time, because there's no regulation as to how all those signals are going to be treated, and the last pass that the FCC made of, hey, well, we might be doing something along these lines, was a big effect for content generators, but they didn't define what a content generator would be. They were treating it like your home and Netflix and Hulu, and they're still focusing on that, which is good for people because it's the emphasis that so many people are using the network on, but it doesn't necessarily protect guys like us and the industry and how we're sending control signals or audio or video across a network that involves an ISP. Now, simultaneously, there are other factors involved here, specifically that we have to make sure that we have the bandwidth available as we're getting to places, and the FCC just in the last 24 hours voted and ruled that any network being built in the U.S. that's using Connect America funds, that's broadband, now has to be defined as 10 megabit down, 1 megabit up, which used to be only a 4 megabit down, 1 megabit up network. So they're actually forcing the networks themselves to improve if they're using these Connect America funds. Now, finding out who's using those Connect America funds, I just found out about this morning, so I didn't get to see the research. And of course, some of the bigger ISPs are fighting it and saying, oh, well, most people don't need that. But if you're putting more area in the pipe, you're giving more access to more people, to more data, and that in and of itself is the part that's really missing in all of this when it comes to moving data around. The net neutrality aspect is a lot of people that are saying Title II, Title II, Title II. Well, my big defense against that is Title II isn't quite the most effective thing in the world, just due to the fact that there isn't an even playing field everywhere. And because this new ruling will force any expanding networks to be improved to a higher standard, it would allow signals like these to pass along that, which, again, the part that I go back to is you in terms of the AVNU guarantee is how are they guaranteeing that? How are they making that guarantee of, this signal is going to get there? Is it the Ethernet redundancy factor? Are they sending redundant packets? How big is this signal going to be as it sends it? Because, as I just said, we're now going to start seeing 10 megabit pipes being built. Okay, great. How big is this signal going to be as it heads down that pipeline, and how much traffic is that going to take? And then we get back into the net neutrality debate as to how these things are going to be treated. So it's this never-ending ball of stuff that just keeps getting more and more tangled until we see a regulation from the FCC on net neutrality.
Funny you should ask, because I asked the exact same question. And it is redundancy, right? It's sending the packet several different times at several different iterations. But here's the thing, dude. We're talking about control, right? We're talking about ones and zeros, and I shouldn't say minor ones and zeros, right? I mean, even if we're talking in hex or ASCII, you're not talking about, Iron Man in 4K. This is, what's the biggest Crestron program I ever wrote? I think it was 45 megs, maybe, and that was the entire code, right? That was the entire machine code. It wasn't, the commands. So I don't see it being that big, unless you're worried about the flood of information. Is that what you're worried about?
Well, look at it this way. Okay, so say Michael Drainer was sending a signal to his West Coast operations at Central Standard Time, just as he's leaving just as he's getting ready to leave his offices. Well, right about that time is when everybody's going home and signing onto YouTube, signing into Netflix, and that becomes 50% of the traffic on the network. Okay, great. Depending on the regulations the FCC goes with, and if there's fast lanes, how much bandwidth are they going to be limited to send that 45 meg file? It doesn't seem like much, but it's kind of like pissing in the ocean. And if you funnel that ocean down to a really, really tiny thing, it's going to take a lot more time to get all of that across.
I do believe that is the first time that phrase has ever been uttered on this show.
Nor the last.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I said this to Josh earlier. The whole AT&T saying, well, most people need X amount of bandwidth. It should be enough. And the first thing I thought of is the apocryphal, not apocryphal story of Bill Gates and 640K should be good enough for anyone any day. Did they not learn from history?
Well, that's the thing is, and you hear different stories. I don't know if this one is true or not, but it's a good analogy. Even if it's not, it's a good analogy. The story of the patent clerk in the early turn of the century 1900s who said, we should shut up the patent office because everything that could be invented has been invented.
Yep.
It's
actually only an apocryphal story, but it's a very good one.
Yeah. Snopes is kind of, I think the last time I checked Snopes on it, it was undecided, so nobody really knows. All right, from our buddies over at SCN, the largest, they do this every year, the top 50 integrators in the country, not in the world. Here's the thing, though, and the only reason I bring this up because there's a lot of our friends on here. Kelly Perkins, AVI Systems, is on here. At number 4, we have some buddies over at Whitlock, some friends at AVI Systems. I don't know anybody at Diversified. HB Communications, Ford. I mean, there's a lot of people on here from a lot of great places. The question is, and Neto, we'll start with you on this. How do you get there? I guess is the best way to ask this because, in my full-time job is I work for a company called Innovat. I'm the director of operations. My business model is connecting with smaller integrators, right? And I've got a lot of mom and pops and smaller firms, 10, 20 people who can't afford programmers, so they hire us, and then that's how we get in there. How does a small, 15-man and woman integration house in Des Moines, Iowa, go from that to, AVI Systems or AVI SPL being the top of the SCN 50?
Time, luck, acquisition.
But okay, so AVI SPL was the wrong one. Whitlock. Let's take acquisition out of the scenario there, right? And that may be unfair, but a number of these people have not gotten there through acquisition. So, I mean, yes, time and luck, but is that it?
Well, I mean, you're building something from nothing.
Yeah.
Obviously the small moms and pop shops start off by being a specialized niche area, and they become recognized for that, and then start expanding. And the only way you're going to grow is through investment, obviously from the company, either in the people or in the products. Once you become very good at something, manufacturers take notice. Manufacturers will then help you, whether that is putting you in front of the right people because they respect your work or the quality of work that you're doing. It doesn't happen overnight. It's farmed out. It's unless you're going to go the acquisition way in business. These companies that have made the top 50 are top 50 by monetary value.
Yeah.
And SCN clearly puts that there. So their days of doing the small one-off jobs are done. They're now sitting there and getting the major projects. A lot of those people on the top 5, top 10 are, grabbing projects like stadiums that take a year, 2 years to build. And it's a big lump of change up front, or at least a big chunk of it up front. And how do you get there? I've had that conversation with people in the industry who do the big arenas and big stadiums and the monster jobs that you see focused on on the covers of these magazines, even amusement parks and stuff like that. It's you gotta work your way with the designers, the architects of that niche area, and once you're in and you're producing the quality work that earns you the spot to be there, then you're just going to be on that list, and you're going to constantly get the calls to, hey, we're building a new experience center, or we're doing a new amusement park down in Georgia. Come down. I know that you guys are in New York, but you guys do great work. Word of mouth, and then especially when they get comfortable with consultants and integrators and all the consultants, architects and designers, then it becomes, I'm going to go to my go-to guy.
Yeah. Aren't though the one-offs kind of your bread and butter though? I mean, a lot of these jobs, I worked on what I would call 2 significant jobs this year, and we've got 2 more coming up at first part of next year. Those suckers take 6, 8 months, sometimes a year and a half. Where you might get between 40 and 60% up front if you're lucky. I had a client this year that didn't get any up front. That's a whole other story. But isn't that kind of your daily, the one-offs are kind of what keeps your cash flow going, though? Even for the bigger guys?
I'm not saying that they don't do that.
Okay.
On a daily basis. I mean, not every sales guy that they have in their office is hitting home runs. They got dedicated teams that are doing nothing but hunting down those big jobs. Yeah. The day-to-day jobs are, keeping the lights on, maybe. I mean, some of them are so huge of a company that, the small jobs are like pissing in the ocean. There we go.
There we go, Lord.
I can use it twice. And
I am not naming this show Pissing in the Ocean, just so you know.
Okay. Nobody's pissing in the ocean.
Thank you.
We'll filter that out.
All right.
Those small jobs are what keeps the lights on. But, and there's room for everything because you got to keep your guys active. If you're a business owner, you want to keep your techs on the road. You want to keep them sharp. Best way to do it is to keep active. But, they have maybe they even, dedicated teams that are just out there hunting those particular type of big projects. But they all started by knocking on doors and hanging TVs and doing that route. They just escalated it, and then once that that initial formula was put together, then they started expanding into these specialized areas. Okay. And they all do. The top guys have that core.
So I'll go same question to you. You work for a very nice integrator out on the West Coast in the San Francisco area. Mm-hmm. How would you? I mean, you guys aren't like you don't work for AVI-SPL, right? You don't work for a bigger one. So how would you advise your bosses or someone coming to you to take your current group and maybe grow them to get to the top 50?
That was the interesting part that I found about this article more than anything else. Is the final line before they give the list is these are voluntary.
Yes.
So I started running down the numbers as to where these guys are monetarily, where these guys are size-wise. It turns out my company would actually fit in the high 30s, low 40s.
Wow.
Monetarily, like money-wise and size and what we do in a year, we theoretically could have made this list. And I've seen 5 competitors that I deal with on a regular basis that are on this list, but they're also multiple office competitors. We're just a single location in San Jose. I saw Avidex on there. I saw Anderson on there. I saw AVI-SPL on there. I saw Whitlock on there. All of these guys are competitors to ICS. And I thought it was interesting that, we do enough business, but it's a matter of letting people know. And sometimes, that's the big thing that doesn't come out. And this industry is so niche, and sometimes it gets so behind itself in making sure that people are aware of what we're doing, mm-hmm. that letting the public know that we do it, and even letting ourselves know that we do it, there's a certain amount of privacy that might still be there of, we don't want to tell our competitors what we're doing or how well we're doing. But, sometimes it's nice to brag a little bit and pat yourself on the back that you've had a good year.
Yeah.
So, we could have been on that list if we had submitted potential. I mean, I'm not saying we would have been, but there's potential that ICS could have made that list. It exists. We do some wonderful projects here in the Bay Area. And that was something that I chimed in with that when this was released was I didn't see any one single company headquartered in the Bay Area, which really surprised me given the amount of money being spent in Silicon Valley. I would have expected somebody from the Bay Area to be on that list. And then I got to the voluntary part and I thought, okay, well, there's a lot of guys on there that are working in the Bay Area, but they aren't necessarily headquartered here. So it kind of was that aspect of, you're seeing some phenomenal companies, they're doing great business, and Chris is right. They've done it through years of experience, through acquisition and expansion. They're doing projects all over. The one-off projects get them notoriety, but those one-off projects also are less profitable than the day-to-day work that you're going to get from a continuing company. So these are also the guys that are seeing that one-off project for the notoriety, but also keeping in mind that it's their everyday clients that are going to keep them afloat. Yeah. And they recognize both patterns of that and are being very, very good at keeping both business models up and running, potentially through different offices or through different staff. So that's kind of where I come at it with the list.
No, that makes sense.
Hey, Tim.
Yes, sir.
I worked for an integrator at one point that, and worked with many integrators who have just taken that big project. They will take the bath on it, but it's the project to get noticed. It's almost like, I got to do this to pay my dues, so I do one of these. Hey, look at me, I'm here, I can handle it. They'll take the hit just so that they are on the next list for the next big project, and then they will start recouping their costs. Because Josh is absolutely right. There's a lot of people that, will go in over their head on these projects and will put 110% into it, not make anything on it. But you know what? They can put that now on their customer list. They're basically doing it for the referral, and they've caught the attention of other people, and whether it's other consultants who have now see their project now on the cover of a prominent magazine, or if the thing gets publicity. I mean, this happens all the time. Look at what happened down in Atlantic City with the Revel. I can't tell you who was the person who did that install of the control system that's in every room of that building. Now the Revel's closed. It was some XYZ integrator who went down to Atlantic City, monstrous hotel, monstrous project. Everybody was waiting to hear it, but they go in and it's literally, the bids are, the bid response coming back and they're low. People just want to go in there, put their name on the project, put their name on the building, and then hope that the next one they're going to start recuperating that stuff. And with a lot of these big companies, how many of those? Take the top 5 guys or the top 10 guys who have a history, who can go back within their company and say, were these big projects actually profitable at first? No, they're probably making a profit now because now they have that respect of, hey, they can handle something this big, and they've shown it because look at this customer list.
Yeah. George, something that Josh said kind of struck me. Can you give me kind of maybe both sides of this, why you would or would not want to be on this list? I mean, like Josh said, this was a voluntary list. There may be several, people that we know that do not want their financials known. And it's not really financials. You're not telling people who you're working for or what projects you're working on. You're just saying, hey, you know what? At the end of the year, this is kind of how much we're making, or this is where we're shooting for.
I used to work for a recording studio that was one of the bigger names out there, and they never, ever wanted to be in the trades. And the reasoning really was they didn't want to be cherry-picked, and they just did their job. They weren't really into promoting who was there. When you know, you know. I could see some people saying, look, we don't want to show the year-end fiscal from last year to this year, showing either a drop or showing an increase of any kind of dramatic. I think there could be employee and then vendor issues. Who knows? Hey, you're earning enough in profit. Why isn't X, Y, or Z happening? And some people are just private about it. I mean, we're not publicly held companies for the most part.
Yeah.
And the details of that, however minimal, you don't really want to put the press out there. I mean, you and I could probably find them if we really wanted the information and find returns and all that kind of stuff, but who really wants to? That's the only reason I could think that you would not want to participate. It's an honor, but it's really not an honor, say, akin to being the best I can't think of it, vendor for a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Partner or whatever. It's still a pretty good thing, but hey, that's really all that is. But you asked earlier, how does someone rise up that list? And we've all given really good examples of that. And by your bootstraps, doing jobs that may be a little bit out of reach, but then doing 110% to get the other ones so you can sort of ramp up. And all I could think of is the sage Billy Joel and his lines, all it takes is looks and a whole lot of money. And in reality, that's what it is, baby. You know, the looks are what are people's perceptions, and a lot of money is whether you're losing it or gaining it. That's what's happening.
I don't think I've ever heard Billy Joel being referred to as a sage either. So,
well, he's all over in the New York area because he's playing Madison Square Garden every other month
for the umpteenth time. I think what was it? Next June he breaks Elton John's record. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 65 or 66 times. So yeah, good for the boy.
You know, spoiler: I bet you Elton John shows up.
Well then, that would be cool. They did a tour a few years ago, a couple times actually.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He would probably show up.
Yeah, so
that's the show to go to.
That is the show to go to. So Elton John and Billy Joel. Wow. All you 20-somethings can just look at us old farts while we kind of ooh and ah. Interesting thing. Infocom is co-locating with NAB. Announced last week. Infocom International and NAB have announced that their events, Infocom Connections and Content and Communications World, CCW, and SatCon will co-locate November 11th and 12th, 2015 at the Javits Convention Center. It's in New York City, if you don't know, are familiar with the Javits. George, this is the Connections is the thing that they're having in San Jose next year, early 2015. Mm-hmm. But this was the event that was in March. Yeah, this was the event that they were supposed to have in Philly this year, right? And it kind of got canceled with some logistic issues and some issues with the venue itself. Yeah. Is this a good idea? I mean, is this a good idea for Infocom to kind of partner up with NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, if you don't know what NAB stands for? A pretty significant, trade organization in and of itself, a pretty significant trade show in Vegas every April in and of itself. So is this a good idea for them to hook up with the guys over at NAB?
It's a question of, for years we ask ourselves, why do I go to X show when I can go to Y? Mm-hmm. And they sort of overlap. And I don't know if Infocom really overlaps NAB in that way, although some of the same vendors do show
pieces, yeah.
Because we're getting that huge overlap in vertical and a horizontal market, so it happens. I see there a potential for very good relationship there. There are people who are doing not just broadcast but outfitting their facilities outside of the broadcast sector or section. So I could see them saying, "Hey, I'm in charge of all these huddle rooms now, and we're just going to do it because you're the tech guys." It makes sense to me. Any other potential? I'm not really sure. I'm just damn happy that they're going to be in my backyard and I can go to them.
Well, yes.
It's just a subway fare away, man.
You don't have to take a train now to Philadelphia. Oh no, you and Chris were going to rent a van for some odd reason.
Yeah, so. Yeah. More on that later.
Who wants to spend a day in a van with Chris Neto? So, oh hey, there he is. He's back. So, Chris, is there a
mixtapes?
Yeah, mixtapes. Are you ready, Mr. Neto? No, he doesn't look ready. Josh,
no.
Give
me a minute.
All right. Is this a good idea for Infocom to hook up and co-locate with NAB?
Yeah, I think that this is further development of the new wave of Infocom.
How so?
Well, we've known for David Lebuscus has now been there 2 years, so it's kind of reached that point of he's been around, he's seen what's been going on, and he's starting to utilize the team that he has around him to push Infocom in new directions and expand Infocom's reach and expand Infocom's partnerships. And I know I've been one of the more critical people of leadership in the industry this year, and this is, to me, a further example of Infocom taking the initiative to look at reaching beyond.
Okay.
I also think that there's a certain amount of silent contrition here that while the event in Philadelphia didn't go off particularly at all, this gives them the chance to buy in with a local group and experiment with. They're going to come to San Jose, and they're coming to the center of the tech world in March, and odds are I'll be there. Then they're going to go to New York, and they're going to pair with somebody. So they're going to be able to run it in two different ways, where an area where there's a ton of tech managers and a lot of people that are doing technological development, and they're going to be able to go to a place where there's a built-in audience and pair with them and see sort of they're experimenting. That's what it kind of feels like to me, is they're experimenting a little bit with how to make these regional shows the most effective for the participants. And in doing so, they're going to be able to expand the reach, and they're going to be able to expand the program offering. There's also the aspect that they're trying to go beyond their audience. I mean, Infocom doesn't have a huge broadcast contingent to it, but now we might be able to get some of the attention of the broadcast industry, or we might be able to see more partnerships with the broadcast industry and look in that way. So I see this as kind of not necessarily a finite endpoint, but more of a stepping stone of this is the next phase. Okay, we've reached where we are. We're expanding our reach. We're expanding our partnerships. We're trying to go beyond. Okay, now this is the next step we have to go to, is let's start to push a little bit harder for the AV world in and of itself collectively under the Infocom umbrella, and expand that umbrella a little bit farther to edge into NAB and start talking to them about what we're doing and what they're doing and how we can partner. So I kind of see that more as where this is going, and I think it's a great thing for the industry. I don't know how well it's going to work yet, but I don't think anybody really does yet.
No. George mentioned, the debate every year. Which show do you go to? I know a lot of folks. Rich Fregosa from Fregosa Design, out in your neck of the woods, Josh. He goes to CES and to CEDIA every year. I know our buddy Matt Scott from Omega Audio Video for a lot of years would go to NAB as well as Infocom, because he does a lot of work with the church market, and there's a lot of broadcast stuff. But I'm interested, right? I saw this and I'm like, that could be a really good thing because of what George talked about. There are folks who are outfitting broadcast-like installations. This week or last week, I think commercial integrator Craig McCormick wrote a piece about, I think he called it broadcast light or something to that effect, where there are installations, not just churches and schools, but law offices that are doing their own production, and other installations where you're not putting in a full Grass Valley, video switcher. And if you're not familiar with what Grass Valley is a higher end, video switcher. They also make some audio gear and some camera gear. But you're putting in, a pretty decent size, a pretty decent, Canon, or a pretty decent Sony, or some higher end cameras. So either you can do higher end quality video work. So I think it's a good thing. Mr. Neto, are you back with us officially, or?
We could try.
Okay. What do you think about Infocom and NAB hooking up together?
It would be great, because I'm one of those that does have projects that are auditorium lights, or broadcast light for that matter. And when we talk about that, you're giving the robotic cameras that the broadcast guys are looking for, to cut back on people with sticks and cameras in an auditorium, for example. And then you're sort of building this hybrid control system DSP type thing, where in the world of the broadcast people, everything is done manually.
Yeah.
George can attest to it. Everything switches, knobs, and weighted knobs, as we talked about yesterday, and faders and crossfaders and stuff like that. So what we're doing is basically this type of hybrid system where you have, a video conferencing system, a DSP, a control system, video switching being done, and that it operates in a user mode that anybody can come in and use, and it's your basic settings for, video conferencing, audio conferencing, no lighting, just your basic lights that integration into some sort of graphic eye. That would be the day-to-day use. But when it comes in and it goes into the advanced mode is now we're bringing in auxiliary equipment that adds into it, and giving it more of that broadcast feel. Now we have the mixing board that is, taking over everything, and it works with products like the Biamps and the Clear Ones and stuff like that. It's not truly broadcast that you would find in the studio, but it's enough to put together webcasts, which are huge, at least in the corporate world. Webcasting is the broadcast way out. So yeah, I think you have a show like NAB allows now, especially on and this NAB show, you can now take a little bit of both. I guess it will give the tech managers that are on site all right, this is Infocom back. We go to Infocom. Maybe it's the same type of setup that we see with Infocom, but it's more broadcast, focused. Maybe that's what they've been looking for, because some may be disappointed that they go to Infocom and there's only a small section of broadcast, people there. So all shows are good shows, man.
Well, not all shows. There are some that
That's true.
I do see it as a good thing. The other thing is it exposes Infocom to a whole swath of new people. I spent the first part of my real working career in broadcasting, so I knew all about NAB. I had no idea who Infocom was until I started getting into the nuts and bolts of installation and integration. And then I quickly learned and quickly appreciated who Infocom was. But yeah, when I was a broadcaster, no idea who Infocom was. So that also might be a good fringe benefit to this. So
and something to speak to. We mentioned the broadcasters and what they do, but remember that where the Javits Center is only about 10 to 15 blocks from where most of the New York City broadcasting is located.
Wow.
The west side in the 50s is where CBS, ABC, NBC, and others are located. They are all there. So if Infocom and NAB are together and they get exposed, that is enormously the exponential number of people exposed to Infocom is just mind-boggling.
Very cool. Yeah.
Infocom has never been in the Northeast. I mean, in the sense of show-wise, they've never been to the Javits Center. They've never been to Atlantic City or Philadelphia or any of the major convention, in the Northeast convention side. I mean, they do smaller things, but one of the things they, have never came to is they've never been at Javits. And, that is where a lot of big shows, other conventions, go to. It's either the Javits Center in New York, it's Vegas, maybe San Diego, and New Orleans used to be a hopping convention area as well, as far as they can accommodate the big shows. Obviously Atlanta, but New York is not some place that they have played at, Joe.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me since Infocom's headquarters are there, right, just south of there. So, all right, real quickly, our friends over at AV Network. As our workforce changes, they were writing a piece, tech managers must keep up. And what they're talking about, it's written by a gentleman by the name of David Zuckerman on AVNetwork.com. They talk about not only the changing role of the tech manager, but also the changing technology. Josh, we'll start off with you on this one. What either classes or what technology or who should the tech managers be talking to as everything develops and everything changes? How should they keep up with both not only the technology but also their workflow?
Stop sleeping.
Oh, very nice.
If a tech manager is going to end up being responsible, and that's a very broad title. So let's hang on. You make a good point. Let's define it as the college or building tech manager, right? So it's the person who's responsible for the AV in whatever rooms. Okay, so those kind of tech managers understanding, partnering with Infocom and keeping up with their training courses, partnering with, keeping an eye on what's going on in the IT world to understand how the signals are going to start being distributed between the devices. All of that's going to be very, very important to them. And I know for a fact that just keeping a building running is a full-time job. Keeping a campus running is a full-time job. Be it a corporate facility, be it a university, it could be a community college. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of energy and time to make sure that the systems are just constantly functioning. One of the other things that they really want to be paying attention to right now is user interfaces. That's one of the biggest aspects of a tech manager's life right now, is making sure that a system is easy to understand for anyone that walks into that room.
Yep.
And understanding that user interface capability is huge for them, and that gets into graphic design kind of things. So while the tech manager role itself has to have a nice little understanding of all of these things, I'm starting to see this transition more to a team of people that are going to be able to help translate this, or more reliance on the integrators themselves to help them translate the vision for that they see. But it's going to be having these tech managers, and I mentioned this in my post Infocom piece, was the sheer number of tech managers at Infocom this year was off the charts. It was huge by comparison to what we've seen in the past. And last year was a big one as well, but it was even a step up from that. And I don't remember the specific numbers, but they're making an effort. The tech managers are making an effort, and that goes back to the Infocom show, which these regional shows are specifically targeted at tech managers. That's who they're trying to get to attend these, to get them the education and to reach out and get them that information. So the partnership from the industry to these tech managers is starting to evolve, and the recognition of the need of education is starting to evolve. So it's just getting that information in their hands as opposed to just the industry hands, because these guys are running a facility every day. They don't necessarily have the access to it. So moving on and getting the integrators out there to spread that message and publicizing that message in a way that people outside of the AV and the guys that are programming and installing and designing every day are going to have access to it is going to be the biggest way to help push those tech managers forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Netto, you used to be a tech manager. Now you're a consultant. What would you say is the best way for these folks to keep up on the latest technology and trends?
Well, outside of following what we do online, obviously.
Very nice. Very well done.
Honestly, you don't have.
I'm the content creator. You're the marketer.
So here, you're left to, when I was a tech manager working for a corporate company that had nothing to do with audiovisual.
Yeah.
It came down to really a couple things that I could do to stay relevant. One was obviously following the trade publications and stuff like that. Two, seek out training. First, the stuff that was online. Take care of trainings that I thought was that I could get for free, or seminars, attend seminars, stuff like that. And then you have to go to shows before the big decisions of, all right, we're going to move into, we're going to switch video conferencing equipment. You just don't do that. You have to weigh out your options. You have to see what the big manufacturers are of video conferencing, for example, the time we're doing. And before we make those decisions, going to a place like Infocom, and to be honest with you, wearing the hat, the glasses, and the fake nose, and walking around and not showing yourself as a tech manager, so you get the real experience of, let me take a look at what some of this stuff is, and let me hear the chatter about the different types of companies that are out there. I mean, look at the new companies in the UC space like Pexif and Econo that are, disrupting, for lack of a better term, or for another term because that's overly used, but for disrupting that game per se. You see their products, it's impressive. I mean, they truly are impressive, but you are, as a tech manager, you may just go there knowing the big three in the Polycoms and the Ciscos, and well, there is a third, but I don't know what the third would be anymore.
Life size.
But
I would still put life size in there, yeah.
Okay, you can put life size in there as one of the three, and then you got those other guys that are chipping away and breaking away at that top three position. I remember when I was in a couple different roles where we had an opportunity to look at Tamberg, and Tamberg was the up and coming at the time. They had some pretty impressive stuff, and they were going up against some giants at the time. The Polycoms, the Picturtels, and that whole group of the ISDN video conferencing codecs and stuff like that. And some of the stuff that they did was striking in that they were one of the companies at the time that were, really going for that integrator. They were very integrator friendly, professional connectors and type stuff in the back of of their codecs. They were rack mounted. They weren't appliance based. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
All right, I thought my audio was all of a sudden cutting out on me. So it's bad tech day. But anyway, as a tech manager, you have to go to these shows. You have to see the comparison side by side, though it may be a little bit of a facade, well, a lot of a facade of what is going on at the shows. You're at least getting to see the hardware in action. You get to see and talk to people, and the best experience you have is that when you were a tech manager and I was a tech manager, I can actually rub elbows and go to you and go, you use this stuff? And if you were to tell me no and just give me a quick explanation of why you don't use it, that would make me want to go find out more of why that is not good. And because I may have been leaning towards that product. So the shows, and one of the things that we've talked about as far as a community and networking and stuff like that, the shows are invaluable.
Yeah.
Because I can run into other tech managers who've been in that situation, who've made that mistake, and would want to share the information of, you don't want to make that mistake that I did because it was a bad experience, and here's why.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. Is the ability to kind of share each other's experiences. That is why I encourage any tech manager that I run into is to join the council. I mean, I really believe in it. It was a sad day when I had to tell them, I can no longer be on this. I'm no longer a tech manager. Now, I'll be on it, but, understand I'm a programmer and I'm a consultant. So
maybe I'm naive, Tim, but I wouldn't want anybody to go through the pain that I went through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely. And here's the thing. A lot of folks in this industry are like that, where they don't want you to have to go through that same pain if they can help it at all. Mr. Tucker, we'll wrap up the show with you. What advice would you give? You're responsible for training an awful lot of folks at World Stage, and you keep these kids educated and up on it. So what advice would you give to tech managers?
Well, it's an obsessive compulsive industry, right? I'm going from movies to songs today. Bowie says, "Change may time me, but I can't change time." So you have to always be willing and ready to explore every avenue of information. The trade shows are a big one, but there's a continuing education, whether it's Infocom or CEDIA or the rest, or just going out there and listening to the tech blog, the tech journals, finding where that stuff is. AVB was bubbling around in the journals for a long time, and going out and finding out what it really meant is what you needed to do. And it was actually something that led me to understanding what live streaming was about, not just what we're doing here at Google, but when you do it from, say, a show and streaming, via, not just Ustream, but using that technology. So you connect the dots very quickly and be willing to do that. I think that's the important part, is connect the dots. What is this? All right, I've learned about that. They mentioned it's this. Go learn about that. The thread never ends. And especially when they make a big deal about the millennials. Millennials want to learn in collaborative spaces. They want to learn while working together. Not one single person writes the report. They all sort of bring the information together, sort of like an advertising agency works to make an ad. It's a big board. You do your work. Everybody gets together, and it's not a single effort. And that's the way it happens where I work. It's not a single effort. We all sort of throw in the hat things to do, and what we can actually do comes out of that. And then the rest of it is, hey guys, here's some ongoing information that you may want to be interested in. And we do that. We send emails to people. We send a little tech sheet. It really comes down, because you can't send everybody to those shows.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Right? So you have to find ways to filter that information back and continue to find that information, because, as you well know, not just for broadcasters like us, but if you're going to a show, you need a plan.
Oh, baby.
I want to see, and then I want to say, what's the buzz? Okay, I got to go find out what the buzz is. But there's got to be a plan of what you need to see. Otherwise, you just wander around bumping into things.
Yeah, and let me jump off on that. Make your plan early. Yeah, and that's a kind of a joke amongst us, because I didn't make our plan as early as I should have for Infocom this year. But like back to John Green and experiencing those trade shows via social media. Even if you're doing it that way, if John did it again, I would advise him to, make a plan. Figure out who he wants to see, remotely, or who he needs his people to see, and go by and interview. So yeah, absolutely, make your plan and make it early. So, speaking of which, somebody's going to have to get on the ISE plan. So thank you, because you guys again helped us raise $10,000, and Mr. Tucker and Mr. Neto and I are going to hopefully give you the best possible coverage we can come 2 more months. So
I'll wave wistfully as your plane leaves the country.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You might be going with us. Again, we'll sell one of Strago's hats for $3,000, and he can jump on the plane with us. So
that is right there. A podcast worn. It's an official outfit.
Exactly.
Tag
autographed.
And he'll sign it. He'll sign it for $3,000. Are you kidding me?
And if you want the pitch, this hat was made in the oldest hat factory in England. And is made by Gorin Brothers. It's sold by Gorin Brothers here in the United States. It's got a lovely gray plaid to it with a little bit of blue. So if we want to get a little bit,
put that back on. Good God.
Shiny, isn't it?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You complain about your follicle deficiencies.
Oh, so it's the oldest hat company in the England.
Well, it's made in the oldest hat factory in England. This specific one.
Very nice.
I bought it brand new for the CI Summit.
Very nice. Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Because it was very chilly in Florida last month. So.
When you have nothing to keep the heat in, it's
true.
chilly everywhere.
Yeah,
Thank you.
My follically challenged, whatever. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. It's been a heck of a week. I was sitting in a Starbucks getting ready to meet our friend Gina Sansevero, and I get a bunch of tweets and emails saying, hey, we made it. Yay, cool. So, yes, thank you very much. Mr. Chris Netto and all your technical difficulties, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Where can people find you and your...
I'm hoping that I can stay on for the... I hope this connection will stay on for another 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Where you can find me online, Chris_Netto on Twitter. My company's website, which is avhelpdesk.com, and you can find me and other financial crew now on the AVNation website.
All right, very good. Mr. Shrugo and your hat, you have become our editor in chief for the blog. So where can people find you in addition to your sound reason?
In addition to that, you can find me on the Infocom Certification Steering Committee.
Yay!
You can find me on the tweets at AJSRAGO. You can find me on LinkedIn and Google+. Also, it's officially a hashtag now. It is AVCap. Thank you, John Green.
Very nice.
That didn't take long. So if you would like to make sure that I get to join these other three gentlemen in ISE, it is $3,000. And yeah, I'll be counting on that donation. Really, man. I swear. And of course, I threw up my year-end recap piece, and my gratitude goes out to the three of you guys for everything that you've allowed me to be a part of as well. So thank you, and thanks to all the tweeps that help make the community what it is. It's been an incredible year for the AV industry and for me personally in the AV industry. So my gratitude goes out to a lot of people.
So, no, thank you. Yeah, you've been everything from the word go. So 31 blogs in 31 days, and Josh touched every single one of those. So, Mr. Tucker, thank you, sir.
Thank you. People can find me, anywhere on social media. If it's a platform, Tucker Twos is probably there. Yeah. Commercial Integrator, Tech Decisions Magazine, here on AVNation.
Yes.
All
over. Speaking of John Green, thanks to him, we're doing an AV sweater contest. I was going to debut this song, and Chris has dropped off now again. So,
no, I'm okay.
You okay? Phil Cordell has made an AV Christmas song. Hi-Fi has created this. I was not able to play it for the people here, but I will tack it on the end of the podcast, and you can listen to it there. It's very good. There is going to be a video associated with it that will include Mr. Hi-Fi as well as all of the AV sweaters. So the folks over at Advanced AV and John Green are giving us some gift certificates to the best and or worst AV sweater. I'm not quite sure how you want to couch it, but best or worst, either one. So check that out if you would. Get yours in this week because the contest ends, I think, the 19th. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct.
All right.
And there's actually 2 videos coming out.
There are 2 videos coming out, yes. And actually another song. And all I'm going to say about this song is it is a parody of the Taylor Swift song Blank Tape? or blank space?
Well, if it's her, I generally assume it's a blank space.
Very nice. Very well done. My kids listen.
All I know, Tim, is that it's a duet.
It's a duet, yes. And it is a Taylor Swift parody. So is all I am at liberty to say. So keep your ears.
Can we just warn people that it's not John Green who will be part of that duet?
I didn't say who it was.
Okay.
I didn't say I wasn't going to release.
I want to make that official. John
I was
Green
not.
Is not the duet.
Why do we have to say that? It could have been John Green.
It could have been.
It could have been.
Because Twitter's lighting up with people saying, "Please, not John Green singing."
I see. I don't read the Twitter during the show because it just confuses me. I can barely walk and chew gum at the same time. So, all right, don't follow me on the Twitterverse if you would. At this point I'm complaining about the Bears and looking forward to Christmas. But go by the website if you would please. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. These three gentlemen and a whole bunch of other people do an awful lot of work. Put an awful lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. At this point, I'm just showing up and looking pretty. And I'm not doing I'm not doing a very good job of that either. So tons of new shows. I mean, seriously, guys, you guys have really come together. Anthony Zotti's got one for AV Networking. Our buddy Phil Cordell has a weekly rap called Tech Rap, where he literally raps, as in the musical genre, the tech news of the week in about 2 or 3 minutes. The AV Crosstalk. We are returns. And let me just say this, because I know who the next two combatants are. You do not want to miss this. Oh, no. Baby. Yeah.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale. We may even take a line on this. You'll start send Tucker around with 20s and 10s in his hand. So yeah, that's the first part of January. So yeah, you don't want to miss that. Just updated all the RSS feeds. And I'm making an RSS page on the website. So in case you don't use iTunes, you can just go there and click and copy and paste and use whatever podcatcher you want. So AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thank you again for helping us out, Kickstarter. We will do our best and bring you the best possible coverage we can from ISC. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. This has been AVWeek.